Hi, this is Dustine from Two Lucky Cats, and today I'm going to explain to you how to make your own stamps. I'm going to show you two different methods that you can use. If you haven't done so, go to our website and download the instruction sheet that comes with this video. I've listed all the materials and the tools that you need, and the patterns are there, of course, and I've also given a couple websites where you can get some of the materials if you can't find them locally. The first type of stamps that I wanted to explain to you is making stamps out of compressed sponges. The first time I came across this material was in the kitchenware department, but now you can find it in arts and crafts stores. If you can't find it locally, I have included a few sources on the instruction sheet that comes with this video. The first thing you want to do is get your pattern. If there's little details here, like inside the rabbit here that I created, if you want to include these details, then trace them onto the rabbit. Now the first thing that you're going to do then is to cut the rabbit or the design out of the sponge, and I do recommend that you use a curved blade pair of scissors like these. They're sharp enough, and it just makes it so much easier to cut out any design that has a lot of curves in it. The scissors that I use are by Fiskar. They're 4 inches, and they have a nice sharp blade with a curved blade here. I just recommend them because I use them, but I'm sure there are other manufacturers that make a similar type of scissor. The other thing is, once you cut out your design, and if you want, you can cut these shapes out with an X-Acto knife, but I also used a punch to form the eye here. Because the sponges are so thin, it's really easy to use a punch. And if you do have like a punch for a heart, you could always use that also to create a heart here. So if you're making your own designs and patterns, you can, if you have stamps, you can use those to add detail to your design, and they're just easier than cutting out little shapes with the X-Acto knife. Now once you get everything cut out, all you need to do then is put your sponge in water, and then it gets to be about this thick. Then it's ready to use as a stamp. So the method I found that's the easiest to apply an even layer of paint onto your stamp is to just take some of the scraps that you have left over from this different sponge stamps that you've made, and just use those to get some paint and just evenly put the paint on the stamp, and then just decide where you want to place it, put it down, and then try to press down evenly on the stamp so you get the whole image of the stamp, on all the paint from the stamp onto the paper. So I just want to show you what the end result will be. As you can see here, there's a lot of texture in the design that comes from the pores in the sponge. And here's an example of the rabbit, and there's a lot of texture here. So if you like this kind of a look, this is a good method to create your stamps. The other thing I'd like to say is, of course, after you use the stamp, you need to wash it off. And of course it gets hard, so when you want to use it again, you just put it in water to soften it up and then squeeze any excess water out. The other thing I'd like to add is that with this particular method, you really need to make a stamp that's like in one piece. There's another method I'm going to explain next where you can actually cut out different parts of your design and glue it onto a backing. So let's get on to that method next. The second type of stamp I want to talk to you about is stamps that you're going to make with this thin foam. You can either find a kind that has no adhesive on it, or there's also another kind you can get that has an adhesive backing. This particular type of foam I found at the dollar store years ago, and I didn't know what I was going to use it for, but I figured I'd find some uses for the foam. So I bought a lot of it because it was a good bargain. I still have plenty of it left. I looked for this particular brand of foam with the adhesive, and I couldn't find it, but I did find a source for it for another brand on the internet, and I've given you that information on the instruction sheet. The first thing you need to do, of course, is to trace your pattern onto the foam. And if you're using the type with the adhesive on the back, it's easier just to trace the pattern on the back that has the paper backing that you'll remove that has the adhesive underneath. The only thing you want to remember when you're tracing your pattern, if you have something like the bird that's you can either have pointing one direction or another direction, or the bunny, the same thing, you need to trace it in the opposite direction on the back, and then when you flip it over, it'll be in the direction you want it to go. You can cut this foam out with the curved scissors, the same as the compressed sponges, and you can also use a punch on it to create details. The punches work really well with this type of foam. And I also found that using a sponge to put an even layer of paint onto this type of sponge works just as well as it did with the compressed sponges. Once you have all your pattern cut out, the next thing you need to do is put it onto a solid base to stabilize it so you can use it as a stamp. And in this case, I just used 1/2 inch foam core board. I think probably that the thinner board will work just as well, but I used this because I did have it. And you could also use wooden blocks if you happen to have wooden blocks. Now, of course, if you've used the foam that has the adhesive on the back, you just have to remove the paper and put it on the backing. But if you're using the regular sheet foam, what I used to secure that to the back was Elmer's Extra Strength Office Glue Stick, and this worked really well. Now, I just wanted to show you the results that you'll get with this type of stamp. As you can see, there's more of a solid stamp here, and you don't have the pores from the sponge like you did if you were using the compressed sponge. And here's another example of the butterfly. Now, I did want to point out, if you're using, with a compressed sponge, you had to use a solid design, but if you're gluing pieces onto the core board, you can create a design that has different pieces, and you just position them wherever you want them to be. With this butterfly, we have the body, and then we have the top wings and the bottom wings, and you just put it together. So you can create more complex designs with this particular method. I hope you enjoyed doing this stamping project today. This is one of several projects that we'll be doing on different methods that you can use to decorate paper, or you can also use some of these methods to decorate fabric. We'll also be doing some projects on what you can do with the paper that you've decorated. So check us out at 2luckycats.com. Come back and see us often.